Have you ever chased freedom so hard that you ended up feeling even more empty and tired? Have you ever tried to let go of everything, only to discover that what you called letting go was actually running away? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a trap that catches many sincere people, including the ones who look the most spiritual on the outside. They study emptiness. They talk about non-attachment. They meditate, they chant, they try to simplify their life, and yet inside they still feel like they are chasing something that keeps disappearing, like they are pursuing a horizon that moves each time they take a step. If you have felt that, you are not alone, and you are not broken. You might simply be chasing emptiness in the wrong way. Here are the two ideas we will keep returning to. First, emptiness is not a cold void that you must force yourself to accept. Emptiness is the freedom of reality from your fixed stories, which means it can soften suffering instead of destroying meaning. Second, the moment your heart makes a supreme pure intention, an intention toward awakening and compassion, pain does not magically vanish, but pain changes its role. Pain stops being a prison and starts becoming a light source that shows you the path. Let me tell you a story. There was a man I will call Caleb. Caleb was intelligent, sensitive, and deeply tired. Not the ordinary tired that sleep can fix, but the tired that comes from years of chasing something that never satisfies. He started his spiritual search the way any modern people do. Not because he had one dramatic awakening, but because life became too loud. He was doing well enough at work. He had friends. He had distractions. He had a respectable life. But in quiet moments, he felt a strange hollowness. It was as if he was living inside a schedule rather than inside a life. So he began reading. At first it was self-improvement, productivity, habits, minimalism, detachment. Then he found meditation talks. Then he found Buddhist teachings. Then he found the concept of emptiness. Emptiness fascinated him. It sounded like the ultimate solution. If everything is empty, then why suffer? If the self is empty, then why fear? If all things are impermanent, then why cling? Caleb made emptiness into a weapon. He would feel sadness and tell himself sadness is empty. He would feel jealousy and tell himself jealousy is empty. He would feel loneliness and tell himself loneliness is empty. He would feel grief and tell himself grief is empty. He would feel desire and tell himself desire is empty. He tried to erase experience by labeling it. In conversations, he began speaking with a new tone. When friends complained, he would say, "Do not be attached." When someone mourned, he would say, "It is all empty anyway." When his partner asked for reassurance, he would say, "There is no self to reassure." He thought he was becoming wise, but something strange happened. The more he used emptiness like that, the colder he became, the more distant he became. And the more distant he became, the lonelier he became. Then the loneliness became unbearable. One night, Caleb sat alone in his apartment, surrounded by books about liberation, and he felt more trapped than ever. He realized he had been chasing emptiness like a finish line, and in the chase he had lost his heart. That night he did something he had not done in years. He cried without trying to fix it. In the middle of that crying, a thought came, not as an idea, but as an ache. If this is emptiness, why does it feel like death? The next day he went to a small study group, not a flashy event, just a few practitioners sitting in a circle, reading, reflecting, practicing. After the session he approached an older woman named Mira. Mira was not dramatic. She was warm, direct, and quietly grounded, the kind of person who has seen suffering and did not become bitter. Caleb said, I have been studying emptiness, but I feel worse. I feel like my life has less meaning. I feel detached in a bad way. I feel like I am chasing nothing. Mira listened carefully and then asked a simple question. When you say emptiness, do you mean the absence of meaning or the absence of fixed stories? Caleb blinked. He had never separated those. Mira continued. Many people misunderstand emptiness. They think emptiness means nothing matters, so I should not feel. But emptiness does not mean nothing matters. Emptiness means things are not trapped inside your concepts. It means your suffering is not as solid as you think. It means your identity is not a prison. Caleb said, but if there is no solid self, why do I still feel pain? Mere unaudit. Pain can arise. Emptiness does not deny pain. Emptiness denies the extra suffering you add by clinging to a fixed story about pain. Then she said a line that Caleb would remember for years. If you chase emptiness to escape pain, emptiness will feel like a void. If you realize emptiness to open compassion, emptiness will feel like light. Caleb felt something shift, not because he fully understood, but because his heart recognized truth. Mira said, "You have been practicing emptiness without a vow." Caleb frowned. "A vow?" Mira nodded. Emptiness without compassion becomes cold. Emptiness without ethical direction becomes avoidance. Emptiness without a pure intention becomes just another way the ego protects itself. Caleb felt exposed because it was true. He had been using emptiness to avoid vulnerability. He called it wisdom, but it was fear. Mira asked him, "What do you really want?" Caleb said, "I want to stop suffering." Mira nodded. "That is natural. Now go deeper. What kind of person do you want to become in the middle of suffering?" Caleb did not have an answer ready. He sat in silence for a long time. Then he said, "I want to become someone who does not spread pain." Mira smiled. "That is a pure intention. That is how pain becomes light, because the moment you stop using practice to protect the ego, practice starts transforming the ego." Caleb asked, "How do I do that?" Mira said, "Begin with a supreme pure intention. Not a perfect intention, but a clean direction. Awakening for the sake of wisdom and compassion, not to become special, not to win, not to feel superior, not to escape, but to see clearly and reduce harm." Caleb felt tears again, but these tears felt different. They felt like relief. That night, Caleb went home and sat. He did not try to crush thoughts. He did not try to label everything empty like a judge. He sat and placed a hand on his chest. He spoke softly, almost like speaking to a child. "May I awaken. May I see clearly. May I stop using wisdom as a shield. May I become kind. May I not waste this life chasing emptiness as an escape." Then he simply breathed. Pain still existed. Loneliness still existed. Fear still existed. But the atmosphere changed. It was as if a lamp turned on inside the same room. The room did not change. The light changed. Now let me slow this down and make the lesson very practical, because it is easy to nod at words and then return to old patterns. Many people chase emptiness the way they chase success. They treat emptiness like a trophy that will finally prove they are free. They treat non-attachment like a performance. They treat spiritual language like armor. But the ego can chase emptiness too. The ego can even chase selflessness. The ego can say, "Look at me, I am beyond desire." And in that chase, the ego becomes stronger because it has found a more subtle costume. This is why intention matters so much. If your intention is to escape discomfort, your practice becomes avoidance. If your intention is to be admired, your practice becomes performance. If your intention is to dominate your emotions, your practice becomes a war. If your intention is to awaken and reduce harm, your practice becomes a path. So what does it mean to make a supreme pure intention? It means you choose the direction of awakening even when your emotions are messy. It means you choose compassion even when pride wants to win. It means you choose honesty even when fear wants to hide. It means you choose patience even when irritation wants to bite. It means you choose to see cause and effect, because cause and effect is the engine of destiny. When your intention becomes pure, the seeds you plant become different. When the seeds become different, the fruits become different. That is how destiny shifts. Now, I want to tell you another story, because Caleb's story might sound intellectual, and I want you to feel how this works in raw life. A woman named Renee had been through a loss. A real loss. Someone close to her died unexpectedly, the kind of loss that rearranges time. Before and after, Renee tried to cope by becoming spiritual. She listened to teachings about impermanence and emptiness. She repeated phrases like everything is transient. She tried to be strong, but inside, grief kept breaking through. When grief came, Renee would get angry at herself. She would say, "I should be beyond this. I know everything is empty. Why am I still suffering?" That self-attack made grief worse. Grief plus shame becomes a private hell. One day Renee met an elderly practitioner at a community meal. Renee confessed her struggle. She said, "I understand emptiness, but grief keeps coming. I feel like I am failing." The practitioner listened and said something simple. Do not use emptiness to cancel grief. Use emptiness to hold grief. Renee did not understand. The practitioner continued, "Emptiness means your grief is not a fixed enemy. It is a living wave. It rises, it changes, it falls. If you fight it, you make it solid. If you hold it with compassion, it becomes part of love." Then the practitioner asked Renee to make one pure intention. May this grief make me kinder. May this pain make me more compassionate toward others who suffer. May this loss open my heart instead of closing it. Renee felt resistance. She did not want grief to teach her. She wanted grief to leave. But she also knew her old strategy was not working. So she tried. The next time grief came, she did not crush it with philosophy. She sat, breathed, and placed her hand on her chest. She said quietly, "This is grief. This is love meeting impermanence. May this grief open my heart." Something changed. Not instantly, not permanently, but enough. She still cried, but she stopped hating herself for crying. And that is where pain begins turning into light. Because pain without wisdom becomes bitterness. Pain with a pure intention becomes compassion. Compassion is light, not decorative light, real light that changes how you treat people. Renee began speaking more gently to friends. She began visiting her elderly neighbor more often. She began volunteering quietly. She began noticing how many people carry invisible loss. Her grief did not vanish, but it became useful. It became a lantern. This is what we mean when we say pain becomes light. It is not poetic comfort. It is karmic transformation. Now let us return to the phrase, chasing emptiness. Many people chase emptiness because they are tired of craving. They are tired of wanting and not getting. They are tired of getting and still feeling empty. They are tired of being controlled by desire. So they hear emptiness and think it means to stop wanting by freezing the heart. But the heart cannot be frozen into freedom. Freedom is not numbness. Freedom is clarity. Freedom is the ability to want without being owned by wanting. Freedom is the ability to love without clinging. Freedom is the ability to feel pain without turning it into hatred. This is why the supreme pure intention is so important. It keeps your practice from turning into numbness. A pure intention says, I want wisdom. A pure intention says, I want compassion. A pure intention says, I want to see cause and effect. A pure intention says, I want to stop spreading suffering. When you have that, emptiness no longer feels like death. It feels like space, and space is not nothing. Space is what allows movement. Space is what allows healing. Space is what allows new choices. In daily life, this looks like a pause. You feel anger rise. Space appears. You do not immediately speak. You feel craving pull. Space appears. You do not immediately grab. You feel shame whisper. Space appears. You do not immediately believe it. Space is emptiness in action. And when space appears, wisdom can appear. Then compassion can appear. Then your karma changes. Now I want to tell you about a turning point that many practitioners meet. At some stage, you realize that chasing pleasant states is not the path. You can meditate and feel peaceful for an hour, then lose your temper in 10 seconds. You can chant and feel uplifted, then fall into gossip the same day. You can read profound teachings and still judge people in traffic. So you begin to see that the point is not to have a special state. The point is to transform the default pattern of mind. Default patterns change through intention and repetition. This is where the vow becomes supreme pure intention, not just a mood, not just inspiration. A stable direction you return to. Kala began doing something very simple each morning. He would sit for 5 minutes and place his day under one intention. May I not spread suffering today. May I speak with care. May I be honest about my motives. May I practice patience. May I remember cause and effect. This did not make his life perfect, but it changed what he planted. He started noticing how often he used sarcasm to protect insecurity. He started noticing how often he avoided difficult conversations by pretending to be detached. He started noticing how often he used spiritual language to avoid apology. Each noticing created space. Each space created choice. Each choice created a different seed. Over months, people around him felt the change. His partner said, "You feel more here." That sentence mattered because it revealed the difference between cold detachment and warm clarity. Warm clarity is wisdom with compassion. Cold detachment is avoidance wearing a spiritual mask. Now, let us talk about the moment mentioned in the theme of this story. The moment of making a supreme, pure mind. When pain becomes light, this moment is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it happens at the bottom of exhaustion. You realize you cannot keep running. You realize you cannot keep chasing external fixes. You realize you cannot keep using practice to hide. Then you say, enough. Not enough in a violent way. Enough in a sincere way. Enough of spreading my pain. Enough of repeating my patterns. Enough of making my home a battlefield. Enough of making my body a dumping ground. Enough of using emptiness to escape. I choose awakening. I choose compassion. I choose wisdom. This decision is the supreme pure intention. It is pure because it is not bargaining. It is not, I will be kind if life rewards me. It is not, I will forgive if the other person becomes perfect. It is not, I will practice if I feel calm. It is, I choose this direction no matter what mood I am in. That is why it changes karma. Because karma is built most strongly when you act against your old impulse. Old impulse says, bite back. Pure intention says, pause. Old impulse says, hide. Pure intention says, be honest. Old impulse says, numb. Pure intention says, feel and breathe. Old impulse says, take. Pure intention says, give. Each time you choose the pure intention over the old impulse, you are rewriting destiny. Now, I want to bring in a very practical example, because some listeners will say this sounds beautiful, but life is harsh. Imagine you are under pressure at work. Someone criticizes you unfairly. You feel he tries. The mind forms a sentence designed to hurt. In that moment, you are at a fork. If you follow the old impulse, you speak sharply. The relationship worsens. The team becomes tense. Trust weakens. Opportunities shrink. You feel unlucky later. If you follow the pure intention, you breathe once. You speak firmly without poison. The relationship stays workable. Trust remains possible. Your mind carries less regret. Conditions remain smoother. That is karma, not mystical, practical. Or imagine you are in a relationship conflict. Your partner is tired and says something careless. You feel the familiar wound. I am not valued. Old impulse says, attack. Pure intention says, name your feeling without blame. Old impulse says, withdraw and punish with silence. Pure intention says, ask for repair. When you choose the pure intention, pain becomes light because pain becomes information rather than ammunition. Pain tells you where you are attached. Pain tells you where you fear abandonment. Pain tells you where old wounds live. Pain becomes a teacher rather than a weapon. This is how practice becomes real. Now, some people hear this and worry that pure intention means becoming soft in a naive way. It does not. Compassion without wisdom becomes enabling. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Pure intention is the union. It means you can set boundaries without hatred. It means you can say no without contempt. It means you can protect yourself without poisoning others. That is mature practice. Now let me return to Caleb's story one last time, because endings matter. Caleb did not become someone who never felt emptiness. Emptiness still appeared sometimes as sadness, as meaningless, as fatigue, but he stopped chasing it. He began to see those moments as signals. When meaninglessness arose, he asked, where did I disconnect from my vow? When fatigue arose, he asked, where am I forcing instead of practicing the middle way? When loneliness arose, he asked, where am I hiding behind cold detachment? Each question brought him back to the pure intention. He began volunteering quietly, not to be admired, but to keep the heart warm. He began speaking more honestly in his relationship. He began apologizing faster. He began forgiving faster. He began letting small irritations pass without making them into identity. Life became smoother in a quiet way. Not because the universe rewarded him like a judge, because he planted fewer harmful causes, because he stopped creating extra enemies, because he stopped poisoning his own mind, because he practiced compassion as the expression of emptiness, not the opposite of emptiness. And that is the deepest point. Emptiness is not separate from compassion. When you see that all beings are not fixed, you stop clinging to rigid blame. When you see that suffering is conditioned, you stop hating people as if they are permanently evil. When you see that your own mind states are conditioned, you stop hating yourself as if you are permanently broken. That is emptiness becoming compassion. That is emptiness becoming light. Now I want to close with something that might touch you directly. Many of us have been chasing something for years. Success, approval, perfect calm, perfect detachment, perfect spiritual identity, and in the chase, we become exhausted. At some point, you might realize you have been chasing emptiness itself, trying to erase your pain by erasing your humanity. But you do not need to erase your humanity to awaken. You need to illuminate it. You need to bring wisdom to it. You need to bring compassion to it. You need to make a pure intention and keep returning to it. That is how suffering transforms, not by denial, by clarity, by kindness, by cause and effect, by steady practice. So here is my invitation to you. If you feel like you are chasing emptiness and ending up more hollow, stop chasing. Sit, breathe, make one pure intention. May I awaken. May I be kind. May I reduce harm. May I see clearly. Then carry that intention into one small moment today. One breath before one harsh word. One apology before pride hardens. One act of kindness without needing credit. One boundary without hatred. That is where pain becomes light. That is where destiny turns. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever reached the end of a chase and realized you were chasing the wrong thing? Have you ever had a moment when suffering forced you into a deeper sincerity? Share your story in the comments. Real stories help real people. Someone reading might recognize themselves and finally choose the pure intention that changes everything. If this talk gave you something to hold, please support the channel. Subscribe for more long-form reflections and practices. Like the video so it reaches people who are tired of chasing and ready to awaken. And leave a comment so we build a community of wisdom and compassion. Closing words. Do not chase emptiness as an escape. Realize emptiness as space. Fill that space with a pure intention. Let compassion grow inside it. Then watch how pain becomes light. Then watch how your destiny turns. There comes a time when you realize you want something that belongs just to you. Something that brings comfort and keeps you connected to your inner world. Wall-crafted bracelet does exactly that. Quietly, softly, and consistently. If you felt drawn to any bracelet in this video, you'll find the purchase link in the video description and many more auctions in the channel's storefront. Because sometimes the smallest item can bring the biggest sense of peace.